I sleep in split shifts, so I'm literally up and ready for this conversation. I could name like 4 or 5 off of the top of my head situations where that has been not beneficial. But just to answer this last question, which is reverse the script. Tell me that for me to tell you that I have your back whether you like it or not. Here's the thing. I have a really good friend whom I adore. She's a wonderful person. But you want to know where I do not trust her? I do not trust her at my back because she is just as likely to let harm through and get me as she is to protect me. And it won't be because she doesn't mean well. It won't be because she doesn't care about me. It'll be because she doesn't know how to act in the moment when the threat comes for me. Ask any soldier how they feel about having someone they don't trust at their back, and they will tell you. I think you know this. You know the answers to this. It's hard to accept, and I do understand that. It's hard to accept the idea that you want to help so much and everyone is telling you, or enough of the people who you want to help are telling you that you can't be useful. And I am not saying that you can't be useful. What I am saying is that you need to ask somebody, what specifically can you do that will not put you in the way? I dealt with a man who had a similar attitude. I spent a lot of hours dealing with the chaos he created in his well-meaning assistants. I watched him tank the reputation, not tank, but taint the reputation of a very well-respected racial dialogue leader because some of the antics he pulled in the background. And to him, he wasn't doing anything wrong. To him, each and everything he did to help. Each and every time, you know, I watched him create contention between actual allies, people who are actually linked up to do particular work together, and had to sit in on conversations that to try to help him understand that he was actually in the way by doing what he thought would be the right thing to do in that moment. And this is where you are going wrong. This is not your movement. You don't get to decide what's helpful and what isn't. When I first answered your question and I started putting hashtags in, I put in supremacy and then I took it out because it is very much a kind of it travels the byways of supremacy to go to a group and say, I'm going to help you whether you want me to or not. And the group says to you, don't. And you're like, well, I'm going to help you anyway. You know who else was helped whether they wanted to be or not? Indigenous people. You know who else was helped whether they wanted to be or not? According to Florida law now, Black people. It's the same attitude. And you have right now some work to do yourself, some questioning to do yourself as to why it is so important that you be in our spaces helping rather than focusing on the folks who look like you. Read some books and have hard conversations with people. I mean, that's super helpful. And if I'm as a Black person telling you that the way that you're coming off makes it sound like you want to run things, believe me, that is how you sound. You want to know why? Because you are not my first one of these guys. You are not the first person I've met who believed that, you know what, I'm only doing this part And other people around me, yes, they're telling me that the way I'm doing it is harmful, that the way I'm doing it is causing problems, the way that I'm doing it is going to cause problems. But I'm only doing this part. And so I know, and I know I mean well, and so so I'm not really doing anything wrong. And this is not a question of right or wrong or good or bad as far as people go. This is about what's effective and what isn't. And no, you cannot be trusted at my back because I cannot trust you to follow orders, which is the position that you are in because you don't know enough about what needs to be done, when, how, and with whom in order to do as you are told. Because right now, what you're being told is to back off, and you can't hear that. So I'm supposed to trust you at my back to follow more complicated instructions? Understand, I love that you want to that you want to help. But I also watched a lot of news reports where a lot of white kids went out and, in the name of being helpful, helped create a narrative about Black protesters being violent and creating and doing a lot of vandalism. Now, I'm not saying that there were no Black protesters who got violent, that there were no Black protesters who destroyed property, but an awful lot of the people who were doing that were white, and they were there to help. And they were at the back for sure. They weren't with the main body of protesters. Do you see what I'm saying? I know this is hard to accept because your heart is in the right place, but also what is also existing alongside of your heart is an idea in your heart that you should be able to set a standard of what help should look like and that we should accept it. And that kind of goes to the point that Royal was getting at about seeing people as human, seeing people as equals. If we're all on a team and I'm telling and we all trust and believe in each other and we have each other's backs, right? We are all working together. There is no team member who has the right to decide a different strategy for the rest of the team. And that's what you're trying to do right now. And I'm not even saying that there isn't a day where you would not be invited to march along with, to help in various ways. There may come that day, but it isn't today, in part because you can't hear that you're not ready right now. So that's the answer to both of the questions that you left for me. And I'm happy to continue this conversation. You and I can find a private clubhouse room somewhere and talk it out, whatever you like. Because I love that you want to help. I really do. But it does require the humility to know when you're not helping.